So we are back on the Porsche Cayenne, and here's the engine after we ripped it out in the last video. And I managed to pick up this rather nifty stand, which I've secured here using some M10 19mm bolts, just to hold it all in place. So yeah, we're going to start to get this thing stripped down and take all the ancillaries and bits and pieces off and see what's lurking inside. So I'm going to start by draining the oil first, as it's still full. And we're going to take the flywheel off and then look at the timing chains. Now interestingly, I've already noticed something. If you come and have a look here, the upper timing chain cover has a rather large hole in it, which probably explains the oil leak that we discovered last time. So right, let's drain the oil and take it from there. Okay, so here's the oil filter, and fortunately it's very dirty, but I'm not seeing any signs of metal in there, so it's not all sparkly, which is a good sign. And if we look at the oil pan I drained it into, similar, there is some crap in there, but I think that was just some dirt. So yeah, so far so good. Now let's take the flywheel off. Right, so got the flywheel off, and as you can see, just for reference, there's a couple of markings that appear to be on the flywheel and these spacers, which are probably going to be useful to remember when we try and put this thing back together again. Right, let's get the cover off. Right, so I've just taken off the thermostat and all the plumbing, which just unbolts from the engine and disconnect it here from the infamous crack pipe. Right, now let's get this cover off. So I'm just undoing the timing chain tensioner here, and this is a rather interesting discovery. As you can see, it shouldn't look like this, and the plunger or the piston appears to be completely stuck, which probably explains why our timing chain was so loose. So yeah, it looks like we found our culprit. So with the covers removed for the timing chains, we can now have a good look at them, and the lower one looks alright. We can see the tension and the guides all look okay, and the sprockets, and here you can see the tensioner for the upper chain, which is what has failed. I also found this chunk here which seems to have broken off this guide, and I think that might explain how we've ended up with a rather large hole on this timing chain cover. So I'm guessing maybe that piece of plastic got lodged in there as the engine was turning, and it probably smashed its way out. So next up, we're going to have a look at removing the camshafts, as you can see here. So we're probably going to start with removing the chains, and to do that we're going to undo these bolts here on the camshaft adjusters. Right, so I've had to bring out the breaker bar with this 18mm socket so that I can get this bolt undone. I've also had to purchase this 32mm spanner so that I can hold the camshafts while I try and crack the bolt undone, as it's on rather tight. Right, so I've taken the caps off on the exhaust side and just having a look at the journals here, and they all seem pretty good. You know, there's some light marks on there, but there's no kind of deep scoring or scratches. The cams themselves again seem to be in pretty good condition, considering this engine was kaput. So yeah, so far it's not looking too bad. And here we're just having a look at the bearing surfaces on the exhaust side, and again they're all looking pretty good. Some dried on oil and stuff, but no deep scratches. And same for the other side on the inlet side. All the bearings and the caps seem to be in good order. And here's the intake cam again, it's all looking pretty good. So right, we now get onto the removal of the cylinder head, and as you can see in this diagram, this is the tightening sequence, so I'm going to go backwards and undo the bolts from 20 down to number 1. Right, so with the cylinder head off, we now get to have a good look inside our engine for the first time, and yeah, it's not pretty. You can see there's quite a lot of corrosion and rust and things in here. Hopefully that's just surface rust and we'll clean up, but we'll wait and see. So yeah, not great really, but not a complete disaster either. As I said, hopefully this can all get cleaned up and reused. And if we take the actual head gasket off, which still seems to be intact, we can see all the waterways and stuff seem to be pretty clean, so it's not a kind of rusty mess in there as well, so that's certainly encouraging. Right, and onto the cylinder head, and you can see this is the cause of our low compression on the second, fourth and sixth cylinder, as the exhaust valves are clearly not where they should be compared to the other three. We can also see a lot of other crud and crap and carbon deposits that have built up in here over the years, so that'll need a good clean. But yeah, got 6 bent valves by the looks of it. Not ideal, but hopefully these can all be replaced. So I've just flipped the engine round upside down and just removing some other bits and pieces like the oil filter housing and oil cooler. And next up, just going to take off the lower timing chain by undoing the bolt here, holding the sprocket on. And then, yeah, we're going to get the sump off. Okay, so we've got the sump removed here. As you can see now, we've got a good look at the bottom end of the engine. And we can see here that the oil pickup seems to be pretty clean, which is rather unusual, as usually these are full of all kinds of crap. So yeah, let's get the oil pump removed and then remove the pistons. So with the pistons all out, I thought I'd have a little look at these cylinders, and using a bit of Scotch-Brite and WD-40, I've just given them a light scrub just to get some of the surface rust off. And there are some residual bits of rust in there, but they don't look too deep, so hopefully they can come out. But yeah, let's have a look at the pistons themselves. And to be honest, the bearings, given they've done over 150,000 miles, look in remarkable condition. So yeah, quite pleased with that. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the piston rings. You can see that on most of them, like here on the first one, they're completely seized on. And yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag really, which probably explains why we were getting some weird compression readings on some of the other cylinders that didn't have the broken valves. And if we look at the tops of the pistons as well, we can see just some impact marks here clearly, which is where the pistons decided to hit the valves when the timing tensioner failed. But yeah, they don't look like they're cracked or anything, and hopefully these will live to see another day. Just as you can see here, just some light marks on that one. But yeah, not looking too bad. Okay, so I've just removed the water pump, which was a couple of bolts, and you can get to them by removing this pulley, so that wasn't too difficult. Might as well replace that while I go along. And I've also managed to undo the crank pulley here, and I've got this 46 spanner, this beast, to kind of hold the pulley in place, and then I used my impact gun with a 27mm socket and managed to sort of blast it with that, and managed to get the bolt loose, which was a bit of a result. And here I'm undoing the bolts on this cover, and I'm just going to prise it off at these points here, which will then allow us to remove the crankshaft from the engine. Okay, so I got the cover off, which was a bit of a faff as it was stuck on there quite well. And yeah, we're now going to undo the main bolts, and the approach here, we're going to work from the outside in. So yeah, we've got the 7 caps here, which we're going to look to undo. And here I've got my trusty breaker bar with this spline socket. I think it's a size 10. And as you can see here, all the caps are numbered 1 to 7. So hopefully even I will remember which order they go back on again. And here we can see the bearings again look to be in remarkable condition, given this engine's done over 150,000 miles. So yeah, quite surprised that well, they look almost brand new. I will be replacing these, as given I've gone this far, I might as well replace them. And here's the crankshaft, and as you can see, the journals seem to be pretty good, no deep scoring or anything like that. And providing these still measure in spec, I'll probably give them a polish, and then obviously we can hopefully just reuse this crank once I've got a new set of bearings. And similar story with the main caps, all looking pretty good considering. And last but not least, we're back on the cylinder head again, and I've been busy removing all of the valves and springs, etc. from cylinder head. And here's a fancy diagram I came up with, just so I can keep track of where everything went, given, as you can see, there are quite a lot of parts. So here are the rocker arms. They all seem to be in good working order. And here are all the valves and springs themselves. So in order to get the valves out, I bought this cheap valve spring compressor tool off eBay. Cost about £10 or £11, I think. You can see here it just comes in different sizes. So yeah, was a bit fiddly, but did the job. So that's the main thing. And if you come over here, you can have a look at now there's some of the valves and how bent they are. So on the cylinder number 2, you can see this exhaust valve took quite a big whack, and clearly it's not going to be salvageable, but the others are not looking too bad. So yeah, it's a similar story here for number 4 and number 6, as you can see. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the teardown. It's going to be rebuild time, so yeah, I'm now going to go off and order a load of parts and come back when we're ready to rebuild this thing. Thanks for watching.